Well, now that the busyness of the holidays is behind us, we can focus in on a new year and some new goals. Hey guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. Last year, I sat down each month and I shared my goals with you guys in 4 different categories: home, family, personal, and homeschooling. And there were so many times that when I was coming up with my goals, I felt sort of isolated in that. Like I was be the only person that I thought would be dealing with that issue, or that it might be just sort of an odd thing to be focusing on. And something that I found is that a lot of you would comment on things or send me messages or emails and let me know that you were actually dealing with the same issue or the same concern, or kind of going through something similar or working on something similar. And I cannot tell you how much that meant to me to know that there was this community out there, that there were other people kind of dealing with the same moments in life and the same concerns. And it was just so encouraging to me to know that I wasn't alone in that. And so I thought this year I would continue sharing my goals with you guys, and I encourage you to do the same. Let me know in the comments what your goals are for this month. What's something that that you're looking to tackle? But I thought I'd start off by letting you know what my word of the year is. I have chosen a word of the year for the last, 7-8 years. And that is to just help me kind of focus in on what it is I'd like to do over the course of the year. And when I'm looking at different things, I'm kind of analyzing it through that lens. Like one year, my word was organized. And so I really wanted to improve my organization in a lot of different areas of life in order to make better routines and handle things better. And I was sitting down and really thinking about what I wanted to do this year. How I've got these things that I'm really passionate about, that I really enjoy. I have a lot of hobbies that I really like. I've worked really hard on growing my business, especially my baking business here the last year. It just started to really boom. I'm looking at my relationships with my teens as they get older and get ready to leave the house. Even things like my garden. And I'm like, I guess I really want to just pour energy into certain things. I want to really work on growing those things. And so finally it came to me that my word of the year should be cultivate. And so I put that in the very first page of my planner, cultivate. And by definition, cultivate means to foster the growth of, to improve by labor, care, or study, to work to make better, to seek the society of, or make friends with. And I thought, what a perfect word for all of the things I'm wanting to work on this year. And I wrote in a bunch of synonyms for it, like refine, encourage, labor, plant, nourish, nurture, harvest, garden, tend, prepare, develop, cherish, and further. It was too perfect. The other thing that I decided this year is that I was going to adjust my goal categories a bit. Now, I've always shared with you guys 4 goal categories, but in reality, I actually had a 5th one that I never brought up in videos, and that was a work business category, because so many of those goals were very tailored to my business that I do, the baking business I run from home. And I thought, well, that's not really pertinent to a lot of you guys. So I do have that as a category, but I adjusted them all a little bit this year. So I will have a work business category, and I probably won't share too much about that here in these videos unless it's something related to homeschooling, because I have some really exciting ideas for some things I want to work on and create and share over the course of the year, and a really neat idea that I'm hoping will be a benefit for everybody that I'm looking to try to make happen before the end of the year. I adjusted the family category to be relationships and family, so that way I can focus not only on my family and those relationships, but also relationships with friends and other moms. I had a few opportunities last year to do some mom group gatherings and have some people over, and I enjoyed that so much more than what I thought I would, and it was just a great benefit, and I'd like to continue to focus in on that this year. I have a home and garden category because there's like always so much to go on around the home. And not only will that include projects in the home and in the garden, but things like finances and meal plans and things like that. Because in this economy, finances have got to be a focus, especially with 2 kids getting ready to go to college soon. And then I have a category that is faith and personal. So when I think about personal goals, it's like, what am I doing to improve myself? What am I doing in relationship to like my hobbies? But I really do want to do a strong faith focus this year. There are some topics that I'm really wanting to dive into, that my daughter has expressed an interest in diving into those as well. And so I'm going to kind of group things in that category. I also have a category that is homeschool, of course, because it doesn't matter what time of year it is, there are always goals that I have for my homeschool. Now, the new category that I've sort of separated out and made its own thing this year is a health category. And you're probably thinking, well, everybody's got health related goals in January, but this June I turned 40. And as a nurse, especially in the field that I work in, I meet a lot of individuals who are dealing with major health issues or disability or just really declines in their overall function based on lack of care of their body in earlier years, or for failing to do what they needed to do in order to stay healthy and stay active. And when you see the results of that, as long as I have, you really don't want to be in that position. I'm a super active person. Y'all know I've talked about it. I am involved in so many things. And I'm busier now at almost 40 than I was 10 years ago. But my body is 10 years older, and I tire quicker, and I can start to feel the effects of those additional years. But I plan to still be this busy in 10 years. At that point, hopefully I'm a grandma, right? And I want to be active in that. I want to be active still outside. I want to be active in my volunteer work. And I don't want to feel like I can't do those things that I love because I haven't taken care of myself. And that's everything from how I eat to water intake to exercise to even taking care of my skin and things like that better. So those are going to be my 6 goal categories, and I will usually share 5 of them with you. So I have already come up with my goals for January. So we'll flip here in my planner to January and take you through them. All right, let's start off with homeschooling. So one thing that we are going to be doing in January is I'm actually going to give my daughter a break from one of her courses for a couple of weeks. We're going to do a temporary pause on her food science course in order to give her some additional time to work on her SAT prep program. So just to give her a little extra time in her day to really focus in on that, because we've been talking about how that's coming up soon, and with the holidays and everything, she just did not have a lot of time to do anything related to that. Additionally, my son got a little bit behind in his food science course because of just work and basketball, and then everybody was sick and all of that stuff. So it'll give him a chance to play catch up and her a chance to focus in more on something else. And then the other thing that is my big focus in January is doing another big block of prepping ahead. So I had done really well at the beginning of the school year prepping ahead, like the first 6 to 8 weeks of school, and then I did that again in like October. And then I just did not have any time to work ahead on planning and preparing stuff in December. It was just way too busy. And so I do need to sit down before we start back up to school, because we take 2 weeks off for Christmas, and I need to really focus in on just getting all of that stuff around and arranged and figuring out like schedules and things like that. And I'll feel much better, I know, if I have that big block of stuff done ahead of time. In relationships and family, I have 2 goals. The first one might seem kind of simple, but that is to have a date night with my husband, because we have just not been able to make that happen in way too long. It feels like every night where he was free, I had something going on or a commitment, and then vice versa. And then we've added in like the basketball schedule. So there's a lot of nights where we're out at games, and those games can run rather late, or we're traveling for them. And we just need to go and have a time just for the 2 of us. And so we're going to sit down and compare our schedules, which sounds silly, but we are both just busy people, and we need to make that a real priority for the 2 of us. And then my second goal is to book some additional college tours with my daughter. So she has put together a list of schools in Indiana that she wanted to go and see, and she even approached me and said, hey, can we look at getting these scheduled so I can go and find out a bit more about about them. So we will be doing a series of college tours. We probably won't necessarily book them for January, but we want to sit down and get them all scheduled out so that we know that they're coming and that both of us can plan ahead for those. For Home and Garden, I only have one goal, but it's kind of a daunting one. If you guys remember back in June, I filmed the makeover video for the homeschool room, and I talked about how we had a storeroom down here, like an extra room. It has drywall, it's mostly finished and all of that, but it's okay. Well, let's just do a field trip and go show you it really quick here. All right, real life, unfiltered disaster of a room. I mean, there is paint and bits of drywall and tools and ceiling tiles and old papers, file cabinets, temporary storage of stuff, and yeah, more junk. It's so bad. Yeah, so that room's bad. It's really bad. And it has been like that since we first did the basement remodel like 3 years ago. We just never took the time to clean that room up, get that room organized, and I desperately need that space. I need that space to properly set up my seed starts as early as February. We need the extra storage space because I have tons of backstock stuff, extra things that I have on hand for my baking business. As you know, as the number of orders ramp up, I've got all of this extra supplies that I need to keep on hand, and I really need to find a way to utilize that for some storage. It's got to get cleaned up. It's got to get organized, and it's got to happen in January. So fingers crossed I can make that one happen because it just needs to. In the health category, I have 2 goals, and the first one is to do some research on some new skincare products. I always wash my face each day and I put moisturizer on, but I am a farm girl at heart, and I spend a lot of time outside. And especially as we get into summer, there are lots of times when I would go out with no hat on and no sunscreen, and I'd be out there for hours. And I know, guys, I'm a nurse. I know how bad that is. I know. But I've got to start taking better care of my skin, or by the time I hit 50, I'm going to look like I'm 70. So if you guys have any suggestions on skincare products that you really like, please let me know. I do prefer to use things that have clean ingredients. Right now, the stuff I use comes from the Honest brand because I do want to make sure that the products that I'm choosing are ones that don't have a bunch of things that aren't great for you in them. But if you have favorite products, let me know. I know how important it is to try to use good moisturizers, but I deal with a lot of things. Like I have a lot of fine lines. I don't know how much they show up. I'm sure they show up on camera, but I have a lot of my laugh lines. I've always dealt with like the raccoon eyes, like the puffiness under the eyes, and like every woman in my family has it, where we've all just got that purple under our eyes. I mean, my daughter even has it, bless her heart, at 16. And I just want to try to take better care of my skin. And the other kind of piece of that is to start drinking more water. And I know that probably sounds like such a basic goal, but you have to understand that I really abhor drinking plain water. And I always have. It's terrible. Now, when I'm camping or hiking or like in the middle of an active workout, I will drink water like there's no tomorrow. And it might be at camping, it might be just because that's like the only thing we ever take to camp. We take water and then we make coffee in the morning. And that's it. And I will drink so much water on camping trips. But on the day to day, I am really bad about either going to the coffee pot or making tea. That is what I drink most days. And I gotta do better. So I set what will probably seem like a small goal, but my goal is to get 32 ounces of water a day initially. This is my January goal because I've got to start somewhere. I've got to start with a reasonable amount and then build up from there. I have to get myself in the habit of drinking more water. So if you are like me and drinking plain water is not really your thing, is there anything that you have found that has helped? Like anything you've enjoyed infusing in your water, or adding flavoring wise. I know I've tried the IV, that liquid IV, and I don't know. It was so sickeningly sweet tasting. Like it was way too much. But if you have any suggestions, please let me know, because I've got to drink more water. But I'd like to not hate it while I'm doing it. And lastly, in the faith personal category, I also have 2 goals. So I wanted to get started with some new devotionals for this year, but I was looking through the ones that I had purchased and realized that I hadn't actually finished my last book from Daily Grace Co. on Psalms. So this covers Psalms 61 through 90, and I'm almost done with it. And I had gone ahead and I purchased the next book, which goes through the next 30 Psalms. So I'm going to finish up the last couple of ones from this, and I don't know why I stopped it where I did. Maybe just got busy or something. But I want to finish this one up and then dive into the next one and get to work on that. And kind of going along with that, with the Bible study, I recently ordered a version of the Hebrew Bible, like a translated version. And I'll pop it up on the screen here for you because I don't actually have it on hand yet. I mentioned in a Wrap and Chat video how I've been listening to the Bible Project podcast a lot, and they do a lot of pulling in of what the original Hebrew words were in different parts of the Old Testament and expanding on like what they meant, and how the English translation just doesn't always quite match that meaning. And they were showing like hyperlinks between different Bible stories, so you can really see kind of this thread going through the whole Bible from the Old Testament to the New Testament. And I thought it would be really interesting as I'm working my way through reading the Bible this year, because that's something that I'm aiming to do, is reading the Bible front to back, to be able to also have that version of the Old Testament as well to kind of read alongside. So as I read a chapter, for example, in Genesis in my ESV translation, I will also read that same chapter in the Hebrew translation, or the Hebrew to English translation, and be able to kind of use that as something to just enhance my Bible study. So it's been something that I've been really interested in finding out more about, especially as I kind of go through the Old Testament. And then I think when I get to the New Testament, I might look for something similar with like the Greek translation, since so much of the New Testament was written in Greek originally. So really excited to do that for my Bible study for January. And then my other goal is to get a good start on my reading goal for the year. So I have a 100-book reading goal every year, and I meet it, but a lot of times I'm meeting so much of it because I'm doing reading for our homeschool. I read ahead, the things that I'm going to assign the kids. I read along when they're doing their books for like their guest hollow programs. I read the novels that I'm assigning them. And I just don't do enough reading for myself. Now, I do have a stack of books to read kind of as part of that homeschool prep, but I've also got a couple of personal books that I'd like to get read this month as well. I have this one called As You Wish, Inconceivable Tales from the Making of the Princess Bride. I love The Princess Bride. Love it, love it, love it. It's one of my favorite movies of all times. And so it's kind of the behind the scenes making of it, and I'm hoping that this will be as funny and entertaining as the movie was. I have this one that I picked up, and I might have shared this before, but The Echo of Old Books. I picked it up and then never got around to reading it. It's about a rare book dealer, and she has this pair of bound volumes that were never published, and it basically has something to do with, like, what did it say? Decades old literary mystery beckoned by two hearts in ruins, whoever they were, wherever they were. So it kind of, I guess, tells the story of a romance from two different perspectives, and I don't know, and it covers different timelines. So I think this will be really interesting. And then I actually have started my first one already. I started this, a few days after Christmas. It's called The Pull of the Stars. This is a story of a nurse in World War I Ireland during the flu pandemic. I really enjoy reading about what nursing was like ages ago, because it makes me feel so much better about how nursing is today. Anytime a nurse complains about how things are going at work, they need to read about what it was like during the early 1900s and the flu pandemic, because it was crazy. It was crazy. But it's really interesting reading about this particular nurse and the challenges that she's facing and the people that she's meeting and just kind of what was going on at that time. The other thing that's been really interesting in it is that instead of doing dialogue like, you know, you normally would do dialogue, write it with like the quotations and everything, it's just kind of written on different lines, almost like it's more like her thoughts. So it's just been interesting to read. The first couple of chapters just totally pulled at my heartstrings because she works on a maternity unit, but she's taking care of patients who are pregnant with the flu. And so obviously there's a lot of tragedy and heartbreak that goes into that. But I'm really enjoying this book so far. And so I have that goal to read these 3 books along with the books that I need to do for our homeschool prep and get a good head start on my reading challenge for the year. All right, so cultivate is my word for this year, and I'm really hoping to do just that. Cultivate, nourish, grow, promote all of those different areas that I have goals in: faith, personal, family relationships, my home and my garden, my health, my homeschool, and of course my business. Let me know, do you choose a word of the year? And if so, would you be willing to share it? Put it down below in the comments. Let me know, what kind of goals do you have for January? Are you trying to start strong or are you easing into the new year? I'm just feeling so upbeat and happy about the way that this new year is going to be. I'm confident this is going to be a fabulous year full of lots of great things, lots of great memories. As always, guys, I appreciate you being here. I'll see you soon in the next video. Happy homeschooling.